Greetings and welcome to this presentation for EDT523. Before we get to our topic, I'd like you to think about a couple of questions regarding these. Yes, they are flashcards. Chances are, if you're older like me, you use these in university or wherever you needed to remember a lot of vocabulary or formulas. For me, they did a good job, but they weren't terribly fun to make and use unless I was really motivated about a subject. However, it is a good example of an activity for today's topic. Our presentation is on gamified drill and practice in a distance learning environment. And on behalf of Richard Audrain, Julie Graff, and myself, Bill KEssler, we hope you enjoy this presentation. For this presentation, we will look at exactly what is a gamified drill and practice activity. We'll also look at two examples of distance gamified drill and practice services, namely Duolingo and Memrise. We'll also look at the strengths of distance GDPA, as I call it, the challenges distance GDPA faces, and our conclusions. Without further ado, let's take a look at gamified drill and practice activities. So back to our flashcard example, any activity where you're doing a repetitive task over and over until you can do it correctly and consistently in order to achieve a goal is what we call a drill or practice activity. So yes, our flipping through flashcards in order to remember something correctly, we can consider that a drill or practice activity. It's known as systematic repetition in the field of education, and it has been done for centuries, according to Lin, Tang, and Core in 2012. Effective? Certainly. Fun? Well, that's for every person to determine on their own. However, instead of making flashcards these days, many websites are making apps for you to drill and practice yourself, as well as adding a little bit more motivation. So what some app and web services are doing is making a game out of these drill and practice activities, hence the title Gamified Drill and Practice Activity. According to Abergui and Taki in 2018, they are combining the web technology and social features to increase motivation in language learning. Two websites that we found research on include Duolingo, I'll put their names up here for you, Duolingo and Memrise. Let's take a look at these, and these are websites specifically for language learning. So before we go any further in the presentation, I have a short video for you. This is for my static presentation. I got a bigger copy for you here. So please watch and enjoy. Maybe.
日本出身です。
So you can see the progress bar up there at the top. You can actually hear them pronouncing it as you're clicking through it. It says you're correct. You can also report it if you have a problem with it. Okay, I think that's a good sample for us here today. Give me one moment. All right. So, in that example that we just saw, there were a lot of activities that involved translating from Japanese into English and vice versa. This is what we call the grammar translation method in play. It's basically when you're converting from one language to your native language and back. And that's what you're doing is you're literally translating via grammar. Also, hearing the pronunciation of the Japanese text and using it to link with a written language involves elements of audiolingual method as well of language instruction. The collection of bonus points and leveling up adds to that part of the game-like experience to the activities. And as Tess said in 2017, it is largely instructional in nature with drill activities featuring matching or multiple choice questions. That's Tess's description of Duolingo. He goes on to say that the gamified experience are what motivates a user to keep doing the activities. The other website, which we'll look at just very briefly, called Memrise, uses more of an algorithmic approach. So basically, in addition to all of the grammar translation and the matching, it'll also go back and review items that learners had more trouble with, according to Abergui and Taki in 2018. Our own Richard Audrain noted that a Latin teacher in an online Latin course that he talked with uses both Memrise and another app called Quizlet to not only help students learn Latin, but also to monitor their progress and note items that are challenging for those learners. So very good practical applications here. In terms of strength, the key one is an increase of motivation. And Abergui and Taki noted that the students noted a more positive attitude towards the effectiveness of Memrise than students who didn't use the software. In terms of challenges, We would say that these websites and the distance learning used is an effective part of the puzzle, but it's not the whole thing. And the reason why is because these applications can do two things. They can engage, which means they can expose learners to new language, and then those learners can study it, but they really don't have a chance to apply it. This is very similar to being given a key, but not knowing exactly which lock to put it in, or exactly, are you supposed to turn it, are you supposed to wiggle it? You don't know exactly what to do with it. And that's the real big challenge of this method. Learners will lack the context in which to use the language that they learn correctly. In conclusion, overall, there are some very exciting implications of distance learning with gamified drill and practice activities, especially through service provider websites. Services like Duolingo and Memrise offer a gaming experience to anyone with an internet connection and a desire to learn. The only drawback is that it's not the whole picture. That's our presentation. Thank you very much, and here are our references.